We both needed this.
A home? But this is more.
Aye.
He needed a wife. She needed a home. But neither of them expected to find love where they least imagined. Ethan Walker had stopped believing that life could still surprise him. The small town of Willow Creek in Oregon had watched him grow from a hopeful young mechanic into a quiet man who rarely smiled anymore. 5 years earlier, he had buried his wife, and since that day, the house on Pine Street had felt larger, colder, and far too silent for one person. Ethan worked long hours at his garage, fixing engines that roared louder than his own thoughts. At night, he returned to a home that echoed with memories and the soft creak of empty rooms he did not need. Love, he told himself. Love had already come once and taken everything when it left, but the town had other ideas. His Aunt Margaret, who owned the diner, believed a man should not live alone forever. She had a plan that sounded strange even to Ethan. A woman from another state needed a place to stay and a chance to rebuild her life. Margaret suggested a simple arrangement marriage on paper, nothing more. A roof for her, stability for him. No romance, no expectations. Ethan resisted at first, but the truth was he needed help running the house and perhaps a little noise to push away the silence. Meanwhile, hundreds of miles away, a young woman named Lily Carter stepped off a bus carrying a single suitcase. And a heart full of cautious hope, Lily had spent the last year drifting between temporary jobs and borrowed couches after losing both her parents in a sudden accident. She had no family left and no clear direction, only the stubborn belief that somewhere there had to be a place where she could begin again. When Margaret called her with the unusual proposal, Lily hesitated, but the thought of a stable home in a quiet town felt like a lifeline. She agreed before fear could change her mind, and so on a grey autumn afternoon, Lily Carter stood on the porch of Ethan Walker's house, looking at the tall, silent man who might become her husband in name only. Neither of them realized that the arrangement meant to solve two simple problems, was about to rewrite both of their lives. The first weeks were awkward and careful, like two strangers learning the boundaries of the same quiet world. Ethan showed Lily the spare bedroom, the kitchen, and the small garden in the backyard where wildflowers grew without permission. Lily moved through the house softly, almost like a guest afraid to disturb the memories hidden in every corner. She cooked simple meals, cleaned the windows, and slowly filled the empty shelves with books and small decorations she found at the thrift store. Ethan noticed the changes, but said little. Words had never come easily to him since his loss, yet he could not deny that the house felt warmer. The scent of fresh coffee greeted him in the mornings, and sometimes he heard Lily humming gentle melodies while watering the garden. Outside, the town of Willow Creek watched with curiosity. Some neighbors whispered about the unusual marriage, others simply hoped the quiet mechanic might finally find happiness again. Lily spent her afternoons helping at Margaret's diner, learning the rhythm of the town and earning friendly smiles from customers who appreciated her kindness. At night, she often sat on the back porch looking at the endless Oregon sky, thinking about how strange life could be. One moment you are lost, and the next you are standing in a place that almost feels like home. Ethan sometimes joined her there in silence. Their conversations were brief but comfortable, like small bridges forming between distant shores. Slowly, Lily began to understand the depth of his loneliness, and Ethan began to see the quiet strength behind her gentle smile. Neither of them spoke about feelings, because there were none supposed to exist in this agreement. Yet something subtle had begun to grow in the spaces between words. One cold evening, the power went out across Willow Creek. A heavy storm rolled through the valley, bringing wind, rain, and darkness. Ethan returned from the garage soaked and tired, but he found the living room glowing with candlelight. Lily had prepared soup on the old gas stove, and the warm scent filled the house. They sat across from each other at the table, the flickering light dancing across their faces. For the first time, Ethan told a story about his past, about the day he opened the garage with his wife, and the dreams they once shared. Lily listened quietly, her eyes full of understanding. rather than pity. When she finally spoke, she told him about her parents, the small bakery they ran in California, and how she had felt completely alone after losing them. The storm outside roared, but inside the house something peaceful settled. Between them, the arrangement that had begun as a practical solution no longer felt so simple. Ethan realized he had laughed for the first time in years, and Lily felt a warmth she had not known since before her world collapsed. Neither of them said it aloud, but both sensed that their lives had already begun to change. The storm eventually passed and the lights returned, yet the quiet glow of that evening remained in their hearts, marking the moment when two strangers stopped feeling entirely alone. Winter arrived in Willow Creek, painting the hills with frost and filling the air with the scent of pine. Ethan and Lily had settled into a comfortable rhythm that surprised them both. Mornings began with coffee and quiet conversation before Ethan left for the garage and Lily walked to the diner. The town slowly accepted their unusual marriage because what people saw was simple kindness. Ethan fixed cars for neighbors who could barely afford it, and Lily greeted everyone with warmth that made the diner feel like the heart of the community. Yet beneath the ordinary routine, emotions were quietly shifting. Ethan found himself noticing small details, the way Lily laughed when flour covered her hands at the diner, or how she tucked loose strands of hair behind her ear when reading on the porch. Lily, meanwhile, saw the gentle patience in Ethan, the way he repaired broken things with care, as if every object deserved a second chance. Their evenings grew longer, filled with shared stories and occasional walks through the snowy streets where yellow lights glowed from cozy houses. One night, while clearing snow from the driveway, Ethan slipped on the ice. Lily rushed to help him, and for a brief moment their hands remained clasped longer than necessary. The air between them felt different, warmer, deeper. Neither mentioned it, but both carried the memory quietly, wondering when this simple arrangement had begun to feel so important. Spring eventually returned to Oregon, bringing bright skies and new life to the valley. The garden behind the house burst into color under Lily's patient care, and Ethan built a small wooden bench so they could sit among the flowers. On a calm afternoon, Margaret visited with a thoughtful smile. She had always believed that fate sometimes needed a little help, and watching Ethan and Lily together confirmed her quiet hopes. After she left, Ethan and Lily remained in the garden talking about the future. Lily admitted that she had once dreamed of opening a small bakery like her parents had run, but she never imagined she would have the courage to try again. Ethan listened carefully and then said something that surprised even himself. He told her there was an empty shop near the garage, and that perhaps Willow Creek could use a bakery. The idea lit a spark in Lily's eyes, and for the first time since her parents passed, she allowed herself to believe in a dream again. Over the next weeks, Ethan helped renovate the shop, painting walls, repairing shelves, and installing a large window that filled the room with sunlight. Lily baked tirelessly, filling the air with the sweet smell of bread and cinnamon. When the bakery finally opened, the whole town gathered outside to celebrate. In that moment, Lily realized she was no longer just surviving, she was living again. And standing beside Ethan, she felt a gratitude too deep for words. Late one evening after the bakery closed, Lily walked home beneath a sky full of stars. She found Ethan sitting on the porch where their quiet friendship had first begun. The night was peaceful and the garden glowed softly in the moonlight. Ethan spoke slowly, searching for the right words. He admitted that when the arrangement began, he believed his heart had closed forever, but somewhere along the way, Lily had brought life back into the empty spaces. Lily listened with a mixture of surprise and emotion because she had been feeling the same truth growing inside her. They both understood that their marriage had started as an agreement, but it had become something real, built from patience, kindness, and shared healing. Ethan finally said that he did not want their relationship to remain only a name on paper. Lily smiled gently and took his hand the same way she had on that icy winter night, but this time neither of them let go. In the quiet of Willow Creek, too, People who had once been strangers realized they had found exactly what they never expected, not just a solution to loneliness, but a true home in each other. From that night forward, the house on Pine Street was no longer silent because it held laughter, hope, and a love that had grown slowly, naturally, and stronger than either of them could have imagined.